Lengthened partials. Was Jeff Nippard wrong? Jeff has nearly 10 million followers across YouTube and Instagram alone, and is universally recognized as one of the top science-based fitness influencers on social media. He has been a huge proponent and pusher of the lengthened partial movement.
I've been on the record for at least the last year or two saying that the stretched part of a lift is more important than the contracted part of a lift. If you watch me at all, you've heard me say this.
Anyone who is a fan of science-based lifting and stays up to date on the latest research papers and studies has heard of lengthened partials by now. It is the idea that training muscles through a partial range of motion while the muscle is in a lengthened state is superior for muscle growth and hypertrophy than performing full range of motion reps. Let's get a visual and hear about them from Jeff in his own words.
First, as I'm sure you all know, full range of motion is when you go all the way up and all the way down. Partial range of motion is when you don't use a full range of motion. And a lengthened partial is when you use a partial range of motion while the muscle is more lengthened or stretched. Again, whenever I say shortened partials, you should be thinking big squeeze. And whenever I say lengthened partials, you should be thinking big stretch.
The reason that he and other science-based lifters and exercise scientists like PhD Milo Wolf are so devoted to lengthened partials is because there have been 10 studies conducted over the past few years comparing lengthened partials to either full range of motion training or shortened partials. In those 10 studies, lengthened partials have shown better hypertrophy and muscle building ability than full range of motion or shortened partials 9 out of 10 times, with one study showing no statistical difference. Said another way, that means that until this point, full range of motion or shortened partials have failed to show better hypertrophy or muscle building ability compared to lengthened partials 10 out of 10 times when scientifically measured and put to the test. Not everyone is on board, however. There has been much backlash.
Science-based lifting has lost the plot because recently every science-based giant creator has been obsessed with the stretch.
You know, this new wave of training that everyone's in is the stretch.
If you think that stretch-mediated hypertrophy is going to be the silver bullet that gets you from making no gains to being the next Ronnie Coleman, not the case.
While Jeff himself touts the studies as the reason for his almost unwavering support, he himself calls out a major flaw in the 10 studies to date. The problem with these studies is that they were all done using new, untrained lifters, and none of them were done with experienced lifters who already have built considerable muscle tissue. The reason that this is a problem is because new lifters will experience not only muscle thickness gains when they start lifting, but muscle lengthening gains as well. This actually has a medical name, and it's called sarcomere addition. However, after a few months of training, sarcomere addition is no longer possible and only changes in muscle thickness can occur. So it makes sense that focusing on the lengthened portion of the lift could improve muscle lengthening, thus cause additional growth in new lifters. But would it have the same effect on experienced lifters? Big major props to Jeff as he is putting his money where his mouth is. He opted to fund his own research and do a first of its kind study comparing lengthened partials to full range of motion training in experienced lifters. The lifters in this study had an average of 4.9 years experience with consistent weight training. So if this study is conducted well, it should be pretty definitive in its results. Not only did he fund his own study, it is my favorite kind of study as well, a within-subject unilateral design. I'll let him explain.
Here's how it'll work. For the next 8 weeks, each subject is going to train one side of their body with a full range of motion and the other side with lengthened partials. So when they do curls, they'll do one arm like this with a full ROM, and they'll do their other arm like this, staying in the bottom half in the stretch. When they do pull downs, they'll hit one side with a full ROM, and then they'll hit the other side with all lengthened partials.
This is my favorite kind of study because it eliminates the ability for things like genetics, nutrition, sleep, or the effort of Group A versus Group B to skew the results, as each subject will train one side of their body with full range of motion and the other side of their body with lengthened partials. The study was 8 weeks in length, and the results are in.
It's been 3 months since I was in New York. The results are in, And we finally have an answer to the question of whether or not lengthened partials work well for experienced trainees. I asked Dr. Pack and Dr. Wolf to present the findings to me on a graph. So here on the whiteboard, you can see that on the y-axis is muscle growth, and on the x-axis are the two conditions. So the full ROM side and the lengthened partial side.
Let's do it.
The hype!
You're legit hyped.
I actually am. Hey, I care about this stuff.
Full range of motion.
Let's see it.
Okay. 6.6%. Trained lifters, 8 weeks.
Show me the money. Okay, so I mean, is it
5.9.
is it safe to assume that is basically the same?
No difference.
Now, just to be clear, statistically, this is no difference.
All right, there you go. There's two ways of looking at this. If you love full range of motion, sweet, keep doing it. You will get the same gains, if not even slightly better, as someone doing lengthened partials only. The other way to view this, however, would be if lengthened partials alone can get you statistically equivalent gains in muscle thickness to full range of motion, then maybe you should make the switch, since partial reps should allow you to do more reps in the same amount of time, increasing the overall volume of training you're getting for that specific body part. So what is my final conclusion and main takeaway from all this? Do both. Do full range of motion on each set until you can no longer do a full range of motion rep. Once you can no longer do another full range of motion rep, bang out a few lengthened partials to experience the best of both worlds, increasing volume, and make sure you're not missing out on the potential gains of both training methods. I hope you found this breakdown useful, and please check out my other videos. Till next time, peace.